Very good afternoon. You're watching the midday news on Rajya Sabha television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor. Here are the headlines. First meeting of NDA's Council of Ministers today. Deliberations on action plan for the next 5 years on the agenda. Prime Minister Modi to also chair Union Cabinet meeting today. With focus on socio-economic and educational empowerment of minorities, Centre to provide scholarships to 5 crore students from minority communities in the next 5 years. 50% girls to also benefit from the initiative. NIA raids 7 locations in Coimbatore. Early morning search operation carried out over suspected links between an Islamic State module and Sri Lanka Easter attacks. NIA also investigating possible social media connections. Coastal Gujarat on high alert as very severe cyclonic storm Avayu closes in. Likely to make landfall between Veraval and Diu early tomorrow. Evacuation of 3 lakh people along the west coast continues. Home Minister directs officials to ensure the safety of people. And ISRO unveils the first pictures of Chandrayaan-2. Preparations for the much-awaited, most complex space mission on schedule. Launch expected in July. Landing on the moon slated for 6th of September. The first meeting of the new Council of Ministers will be held today, in which Prime Minister Nirav Modi is likely to outline the roadmap of his government. The Prime Minister is expected to underline the role of ministers of state in the running of ministries and may also ask the cabinet ministers to give their deputies adequate responsibilities. All the 57 union ministers are invited to attend the meeting, and the union cabinet will also meet ahead of the first Council of Ministers meeting today. With an aim to ensure the socio-economic and educational empowerment of minorities, especially girls, through 3 E's, namely education, employment and empowerment, the centre will provide scholarships for 5 crore students from the minority communities in the next 5 years. Making the announcement on Tuesday, Union Minister for Minority Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi said that the scholarships such as pre-matric, post-matric and merit-cum-means will be provided to 5 crore students from minority communities, including 50% girls. Now, this includes more than 10 lakh Begum Hazrat Mahal Girls Scholarship in the next 5 years for economically weaker sections. Also, bridge courses for girls from minority communities who have dropped out of schools, and training for madrasa teachers in mainstream subjects such as Hindi, English, maths, science and computers, and Padho Badho awareness campaign to encourage education. Free coaching for central and state administrative services, banking services, SSC, railways and other competitive services will also be provided to the economically weaker sections from minority communities. And various scholarships like a pre-matric, post-matric and merit-cum-means will be provided to 5 crore students.
5 करोड़ हमने छात्र छात्राओं को स्कॉलरशिप के माध्यम से इन 5 सालों में हमने शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में उनके सशक्तिकरण का संकल्प लिया है। स्किल डेवलपमेंट के माध्यम से उनको रोज़गार और रोज़गार के मौके उपलब्ध कराने का संकल्प लिया है। और मदरसे जो बड़ी संख्या में देश भर में हैं, उनको जो है वो फॉर्मल एजुकेशन या मेन स्ट्रीम एजुकेशन के साथ जोड़ करके उनके बच्चों को भी समाज के निर्माण का हिस्सेदार भागीदार बनाया जा सके, नए भारत के निर्माण का हिस्सेदार भागीदार बनाया जा सके, इसके लिए काम करें।
And the government is planning a new labour legislation that would merge 44 labour laws under 4 categories, namely wages, social security, industrial safety and welfare, and industrial relations. Now, this step is aimed at helping the investors and also accelerating growth. The proposed bill will include national minimum wage for all kinds of employment and also look into the safety of workers. The draft bill will be placed before the Union Cabinet, after which it will be introduced in Lok Sabha, most likely in the second week of the coming Parliament session. The decision was taken at an interministerial meeting chaired by Home Minister Amit Shah and also attended by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, Labour Minister Santosh Kumar Gangwar, Commerce and Railway Minister Piyush Goyal, among others. Union Minister Thawar Chand Gehlot was appointed the leader of Rajya Sabha on Tuesday. Gehlot is a prominent Dalit face of the BJP and is a 4-term Lok Sabha MP, and he represents Madhya Pradesh in the Rajya Sabha. He became a Rajya Sabha member in 2012 and was re-elected to the upper house of Parliament from Madhya Pradesh in 2018. His Rajya Sabha term will end in 2024. He will replace a former Finance Minister Arun Jaitley as the leader of the upper house, who had requested to step down from key positions in view of his health. And Nirpendra Mishra and P.K. Mishra were reappointed as the Principal Secretary and Additional Principal Secretary, respectively, to Prime Minister Nirav Modi, with the Cabinet Minister rank on Tuesday. Appointments Committee of the Cabinet approved both the appointments with effect from 31st of May. Their appointments will be coterminous with the term of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will leave for Bishkek tomorrow to participate in the SCO summit on 13th and 14th of June. Now, this is going to be his first multilateral visit after taking oath of power for the second term. PM Modi will have hectic schedule in Bishkek that will include addressing the summit as well as having bilateral meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping, among other heads of governments of the member nations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will arrive in Kyrgyz capital Bishkek on Thursday afternoon and will engage in pre-summit bilateral meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping. The bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the SCO summit will also set the agenda of their deliberations in the forthcoming G20 summit to be held in Osaka later this month.
I think a few issues are very important there. SCO already has a group, contact group, which is Afghanistan. So I think Afghanistan will be one issue that they will be discussing. Connectivity will be another issue. Terrorism. Countering separatism, extremism and terrorism. This has been a forte of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And we are very much affected, as you know, by terrorism. So they would be discussing this as well. Then, of course, there are issues of economic cooperation, trade cooperation, etc. So this is a very wide agenda that they would be discussing.
The main agenda of the SCO meeting will be terrorism, and the Prime Minister is expected to pitch for strong and decisive action to deal with the menace during the two-day summit. He is also expected to emphasize on the need for enhancing connectivity among the members of the grouping to boost overall growth.
There is indeed scope for bilateral meetings, and we're happy to confirm bilateral meetings with Russia and China as taking place on the margins of the SCO summit. There will be, and there are other requests also. These tend to be processed, taking into account the limited time available. I will also go on to mention that this is a very special visit because there is a bilateral component also. On 14th of June in the late afternoon will be the India-Kyrgyzstan bilateral segment.
In addition, Prime Minister will also have meetings with President Putin and President Xi Jinping of China, and also he will have on the sidelines. He will also have a bilateral visit to Kyrgyzstan, which is also a very important part.
This is the second SCO meeting after its expansion in 2017, when both India and Pakistan were given full membership. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization was founded at a summit in Shanghai in 2001 by the presidents of Russia, China, Kyrgyz Republic, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. At present, the SCO represents around 42% of the world's population and 20% of the global GDP. For India, it is a structured platform to engage with Central Asian countries. This is Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV. Very severe cyclonic storm Avayu is moving fast northwards and is expected to make landfall in the coastal areas of South Gujarat tomorrow morning. The Met Department has issued a warning of heavy rains and winds at a speed of about 145 to 170 kilometers per hour on Thursday and Friday in the coastal areas of Saurashtra and Kutch. Chief Minister Vijay Rupani has asked the authorities to shift people living in the coastal belt to safer places as the entire coastline starting from Kutch to south of Gujarat have been put on high alert. The state government has also set up teams for relief and rescue work. Over 5 lakh food packets are being prepared and more than 100 dewatering pumps are being arranged. The Indian Coast Guard, the Navy, Army and Air Force units have also been put on standby along with the 39 teams of the NDRF, that is the National Disaster Response Force. Home Minister Amit Shah reviewed Cyclone Avayu preparedness and directed all the officials to ensure the possible steps for the safety of people. The Home Ministry has also issued detailed advisories to the Gujarat government and the Union Territory of Diu to take all precautionary measures with a view to ensure that no human life is lost and that there is a minimal damage to vital infrastructure and there is early recovery of all the essential services post the landfall of cyclone. Gujarat and Diu authorities are also evacuating about 3 lakh people from vulnerable areas and shifting them to around 700 cyclone and relief shelters.
You may be knowing yesterday evening that has become a severe cyclone and the night time around that 11:30 p.m. we have further intensified, made it a very severe cyclonic storm. And at present if you look into the latest position, it is lying in East Central Arabian Sea. It is about 470 km west-northwest of Goa, 280 km south-southwest of Mumbai and around 340 km almost south of Viraval of Gujarat state. And we are expecting the system to move further northwards itself and it will be crossing Gujarat coast between Porbandar and Mahua as we were telling earlier also around Viraval and Diu by 13th. Means tomorrow morning hours and while crossing it is expected to have a wind speed of 145 to 155 kmph gusting to 170 kmph.
And let's get all the updates. We have with us Mr. Ranvirkumar Mishra, Deputy Commandant of 6 NDRF. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on Rajya Sabha television. Sir, as you were telling us in the morning about Cyclone Avayu, and now the IMD is saying that Cyclone Avayu is now at 280 kilometers south-southwest of Mumbai. But Gujarat, of course, continues to be on high alert. It is the cyclone is going to hit the Gujarat coast tomorrow morning. So give us an update on what is happening since you are in Ahmedabad right now. How are the evacuations going on and the preparedness of the state?
Yes, and on the part of NDRF, we have prepared all our teams in the coastal regions and we have started evacuated from Gandhinagar, from Gandhidham or from Morbi district and Somnath district. And we have evacuated almost 6,000 people since today morning. And we are also conversing and convincing the local village community to go on safer places as to avoid the zero loss concept.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for those updates there. So NDRF, of course, is fully prepared and the rest of the teams, that is the Army, the Navy and the Air Force, as well as the other authorities are also on standby and making sure that all the people from the coastal areas who are vulnerable to the storm are evacuated as soon as possible. Now, big story coming in from Tamil Nadu, where the National Investigation Agency conducted raids at 7 locations in connection with the Sri Lanka Easter Sunday blast. The early morning raids were conducted over a suspected link between the Islamic State module in the city and the Easter bombings in Sri Lanka that killed over 250 people there. Raids were conducted on the basis of inputs that certain people are reportedly in touch with those behind the Easter Day attacks on social media. The NIA had registered a case in connection with the new Islamic State module 10 days ago. All right, big story coming in from Tamil Nadu. The NIA has raided 7 spots in Coimbatore over Islamic State links with the Sri Lanka blast. Remember, the Sri Lanka blasts took place on Easter Sunday, in which more than 250 people lost their lives. And an NIA team had also visited Sri Lanka a few days ago to probe the links of the Islamic State modules in the Sri Lanka blast. It also registered a case in connection with the new Islamic State module 10 days ago. And this action by by NIA comes in view of that case that had been filed in relation to the Sri Lanka blasts. So 7 locations in Tamil Nadu raided in connection with the Easter Sunday blast. Our colleague Ravindra Singh Shoran is now joining us on the phone line. Ravindra, we have been telling our viewers how the NIA, registered a case and it had visited Sri Lanka as well some days back to probe these links of Islamic State modules in Sri Lanka blast. And now today, 7 spots in Coimbatore have been raided. What more details you can provide us?
Yeah, good afternoon, Aishwarya. The NIA, the National Investigation Agency, they have carried out searches today after the input they received that some of the people who were involved in the Easter attacks in Sri Lanka, they were of the IS and they have some connection in here in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. They have conducted raids on different parts of it. So today they have conducted salutes at 7 different places in the city on the basis of inputs that certain people are reportedly in touch with those behind the Easter Day attacks on social media. The searches were in continuation of those conducted here and in Kerala in connection with an IS terror. However, details about seizure of documents or devices are not available so far, but we are waiting that by the evening or later the NIA will provide the details about the seizure. Remember, the IS had claimed responsibility for the serial bombings in Sri Lanka, and around 9 suicide bombers were involved in the attack, where more than 250 people. And the Sri Lankan government also has said that local terror group, that is NDJ, carried out the attacks with support from the IS soon after the April 21 attack in Sri Lanka that left more than 250 people dead. India stepped up security in the, yes.
All right. Thank you, Ravindra, for all those updates there from Tamil Nadu. And the draft of the 484-page report of the National Education Policy 2019 is in for consultations, but the larger objectives of the report still seem to be unreached to the people. In an exclusive interview to Rajya Sabha television, Chairman of the committee and former ISRO chief Professor K. Kasturi Rangan explained how 10+2 format of the school education will be replaced by K-12. And on the controversy of the 3-language formula, the chairman said that there was no U-turn from the government and that the flexibility clause was always there as part of the report. Kasturi Rangan also said that political parties, especially from the south, do not get the right signals. So take a look at the excerpts of this exclusive interview.
Go up to 18. By the last 4 years, which we call as the secondary, after this narration related to foundational, preparatory, middle stage, we go to the secondary. You're also learned enough for pursuing certain types of vocational things if you want to stop at the age of 18. So it provides those 2 routes very carefully. And the other important thing I want to emphasize is the fact that this structuring, which is developmentally appropriate, enables early detection and correction of the developmental issues related to the child, which is reflected ultimately in terms of large dropouts. We want to have a foundational liberal education as a common thread that flows. The foundation, the liberal education is nothing but you try to integrate social sciences, humanities, sciences, mathematics, and all these together in the early stage of the undergraduate education, and you give a totally a multidisciplinary the educational system which covers a good amount of broad knowledge base. Now, on that you create the specialization that you want to do in the undergraduate. If I want to become a physicist, I'll take a major in physics. But along with that, I want to learn philosophy, I will take philosophy as a minor. So, with that kind of a flexibility at the next level, we are going to bring in the liberal education as a foundational part of an undergraduate education and improve the ability of the students or the youngsters to comprehend things in a much more broader sense than the limited systems that you can understand today when you take up a commerce degree or a physics degree or a mathematics. They did not get the signal we wanted to get, that there is a flexible policy, and if you have seen the title of that particular paragraph itself, it was flexible three-language formula. So once we realized that there is a scope for it being misunderstood in the context of Hindi imposition, we had an alternate formulation. It's only an alternate formulation, it's not a change in the stance. That we simply brought in, and this is all the job of the committee and not of anybody else. So it is wrong to say that government came in and they made the changes and they got it changed. These kind of things are being said about in the country. I think they are travesty of truth.
And you can watch that entire interview tonight in our program To The Point at 10 p.m. So don't forget to tune in then. And news now from Bihar, where 30 children have died this month in two hospitals in Bihar's Muzaffarpur with hypoglycemia. Now, according to the State Health Department, the disease has affected 222 blocks of 12 districts in the state, especially Muzaffarpur, Vaishali, Shior and East Champaran. A 7-member central government team is in Muzaffarpur today to review the situation. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan has also sought a report in connection with the children's deaths.
जनवरी महीने से ये इसका शुरू हुआ था. जनवरी से लेके जून तक 13 एडमिशन हुए थे, जिसमें कि 3 मौत हुई थी. 2 जून से अब तक कुल एडमिशन 86 है, 86, और मौत 31 है, और पेशेंट्स भले चंगे होके इस अस्पताल से गए.
News from UK now, where fugitive diamantaire Nirav Modi will appear before the UK High Court for his 4th bail petition in the extradition case to India today. Nirav Modi was remanded till 27th of June by the British court after his 3rd bail petition was rejected by the court last month. Remember, Nirav Modi is wanted in India as he is facing charges of fraud and money laundering amounting to nearly $2 billion in the Punjab National Bank case. He was arrested by the Scotland Yard officers on an extradition warrant in the month of March in London, and he has been lodged in a London jail since then. On to some other news. On World Child Day Against Labour, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has called child labour a social evil that endangers the development of children and the society. In a message on Twitter, Naidu called for a resolve to eradicate the social evil and to ensure a safe, happy and supportive environment for children. He also urged the citizens to strive to create a child labour-free society. And on to the other big story this afternoon. ISRO has released a first picture of its lunar mission Chandrayaan-2. Chandrayaan-2, which is being called the most complex space mission, is scheduled to launch during the window of 9th of July to 16th of July, with an expected moon landing on 6th of September this year. The scientific experiments from India's second lunar mission include finding water and special minerals on the lunar surface. Remember, Chandrayaan-2 comes 10 years after ISRO launched its first lunar mission, Chandrayaan-1, in 2009. And all the cricketing action now from the ICC World Cup. The Bangladesh-Sri Lanka ICC World Cup match at Bristol was abandoned without a ball being bowled due to rain on Tuesday. Points for this match will be split between the two teams, and now this is the second successive time in the ongoing World Cup when Sri Lanka has been forced to split points. Their last match against Pakistan was also called off due to rain. Both the teams came into the match with one win from 3 matches, and now each will get a point for the washout. Sri Lanka now have 4 points from as many games, while Bangladesh have 3 points from 4 games. And in today's match, Australia will face Pakistan at 3 p.m. in Taunton today. Wicketkeeper batsman Rishabh Pant will replace injured Shikhar Dhawan in the ongoing ICC Cricket World Cup. The decision was taken after Indian opener Shikhar Dhawan was ruled out of the tournament for 3 weeks after sustaining a hairline fracture on his left hand in the match against Australia. Dhawan is likely to miss at least 3 World Cup matches due to his injury. And that is the wrap on this edition of Midday News. Thanks so much for your time.